Welcome, everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about sleep. Sleep is one of those underrated things that are in your life that you might not know that you're getting good sleep or that you might not know that you're getting bad sleep. But what I can tell you is that if you do get bad sleep, it's going to begin to compound. And most people who are struggling getting sleep for whatever reason, there's a lot of problems that can come. You might think that you're making it through just because maybe you're miserable, maybe your eyesight is blurry. There are so many different aspects to if you are functioning well in your day. Most people who are not functioning to some level of standard of wellness, you're not going to be proactive in the best person you can be, your potential. Most people who come to work with me, they don't do it because everything is perfect in their life. There are going to be aspects in their life that they're not 100% satisfied with. Maybe that can be, I want to get a better mindset. I want to learn how to get rid of some of my poor habits. I want to get into a fitness mindset. I mean, we can go down the list for the reasons why people are not where they want to be. So in a sense, sleep might not be one of your initial remedies when you're trying to go through life, right? For example, let's say you have crippling debt. You're not going to say, well, let me go to sleep, right? It's just one of those things. Typically what happens is if you're struggling with a lot of stress, oh, let me have some cake. Let me get that feel good. Let me get that endorphin rush. And that exasperates the problem. So now we're hurting ourselves even more. Now we're doing things that are going to cause us to not get good sleep because we're doing things that are harming us. When in reality, what we need to do is learn how to stop, to learn how to be still, to learn how to rest. Because when you rest, you become strong. But yet many people don't know how to rest. Many people don't know how to stop. Many people don't know how to stay still. Our world is moving so fast. And today I'm going to be bringing on a sleep specialist, Dr. Bijoy John. He's going to be helping us understand the patterns of sleep, how he helps people get back to better sleep, and so much more. This episode is going to have so many nuggets. I want you to get your notebooks. I want you to get your note things in your phone or whatever and get ready to take some notes. Get ready to check him out at the end of this because, again, if you're struggling with sleep, if you know someone who's struggling with sleep, whoever it may be, because they're not getting adequate amounts of sleep, this episode is going to be for them. So let's get into that interview with Dr. Bijoy John and myself. Welcome, Dr. Bijoy John, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me.
We're going to be having you on today as a board-certified sleep specialist. We're going to be talking about your work. But in your own words, can you tell the world who you are, what you do, and how you help?
Yes, I'm Dr. Bijoy John. I'm a board-certified sleep specialist. My background is also pulmonary, critical care. So I've been doing all this for about 25 years. 3 years ago, I branched out and pursued my passion of exclusively practicing sleep medicine. So I started my own clinic called Sleep Wellness Clinics of America. Then I see the same pattern of people with problems, and I found nobody's sleeping. So I decided to write the book called Nobody's Sleeping. So I worked on it for 2 years. It's in print. It's ready for pre-order. And I also branded myself as Dr. Sleep Fix. I started Sleep Fix Academy, and I am the Dr. Sleep Fix. So I just want to preach to the world. I have problems sleeping, but I'm a beneficiary of good sleep. And the joy that I feel and the superpower of sleep that I've discovered, I want to share to the world because I think we can do a lot by sleeping better. That's my ultimate mission of the path that I'm in.
And in your research, because I'm sure this sleep deprivation has started somewhere. Maybe it was the onset of when we were cavemen and we were worried about getting eaten by saber-toothed tigers, or maybe it was on the onset of technology. When did you find that people were struggling to get some good rest?
Yes. Historically, the invention of the light bulb changed everything. People who had this dual sleep. They slept twice, not like the one block at night. People slept ever since the invention of light changed. And as the industrial revolution happened, work started, we've been cultured to work. And it's in the last 10, 15 years, ever since the invention of the smartphones that we call it, everybody has got a new friend, including myself. We know we are dedicating more time to it, 3 hours, 4 hours. Children are using 8, 9 hours. So where does that extra hours come from? Is from our sleep. So, adults require about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Children, teenagers require 8 to 10, and smaller children need more than that. But everybody is compromising on the sleep. Mike, for example, if you compromise 1 hour of sleep in 7 days, you're compromising a one whole night's sleep. So we are walking around with sleep debt. So that's the premise, the olden, how it happened, and the reason, the invention, and the prolific use of cell phone technology.
I like the idea of sleep debt because now we can start to make this real because debt doesn't feel good, but yet sleep deprivation is something that we put off until maybe we faint, maybe something big happens. We're just so exhausted, we need to take a nap during the day. But they say something about technology.
Yes.
We can't put it back in the box, right? We can't get rid of electricity. We can't get rid of our smartphones. It is there to stay. Knowing that we can't just get rid of it, go back in time and saying, all right, let's not invent electricity.
Yes.
How can people start to sleep better if we know that people are starting to give more time to technology, to being awake because we can be up at night and see better. We don't need candles. What is the simple fix, if there is one?
Yes, yes. I deal with in my book also the topic on cell phone addiction. It's very simple. If you wake up and the first thing you do is looking at your phone, you have a cell phone addiction, period. That's it. But how do you get away with it? I tell people to stay away from a cell phone at least 1 hour or at least 30 minutes prior to going to sleep. And then keep your phone away from your bedroom in your bathroom. Bedroom is only for sex and sleeping. So when you have something close to you, it's a constant source of dings and the sounds and the notification. And then you wake up and look at the clock or the time, then it's over. Hey, I only slept, it's 2 o'clock. I only slept 2 hours. Oh, maybe I got only three. See, the thought process. For all practical purposes, the why you do this is the melatonin, that hormone that puts us to sleep, is only secreted in darkness. The light from the phone is a major hindrance for natural sleep. These are the two things I tell people to get rid of that. You can't do away with it. You have to live with it. That's our best friend. At least 30 minutes, an hour prior to going to sleep, and keeping it away for the night is the two most practical things you can do in my research. And that's what I apply practically, Mike.
There's something, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm sure you're the person to speak with about this because they say that if you have like technology in the room, it emits a certain type of wave. For example, they said the TV, just having a TV in the room can mess up your sleep patterns. Even if you're not watching it, just having it in there. Is the phone the same thing or is that just a myth?
No, anything has got some amount of radiation, and we have our own body waves. Like if you comb your hair, you have static. So we are sources of electricity, our heart. So there is some amount of interference in any electronic material that is around it. So the best thing to do is keep it away from you. 6 feet away it's what for everything. For practical purposes, don't have any electronics I don't wear any watches or any devices to go to bed. There's prolific use of those technology. The problem is once people know they are sleeping only 2 hours in REM sleep and 4 hours, and they worry and they lose their sleep. I am no technology when I sleep because that is a natural process. And you're right, those radiation and those frequencies do mess with our brain waves, the extent of which we are not very sure, but for fact, it does affect us.
Before we get into like how to help people and how you help people step by step process, just one more question so we can kind of give a foundation. I think this is an urgency. Like all the questions I'm giving you are just creating urgency for people to realize. If now we know all this, right? What is the worst case scenario if we do not catch our sleep the right way, if we're not getting adequate amounts of sleep?
The one of those problems with sleep problems, they don't happen overnight. See, if you have a toothache or if you have a growth or cancer, you're going to take care of it because toothache hurts. But sleep problems takes time. It takes years or 10 years. The sleep disorders like sleep apnea can cause so many problems like diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular problems, cognitive issues. One of the treatable causes of Alzheimer's dementia is by treating your sleep apnea. And if you don't sleep well, you are at risk for errors. You can have an accident. Kids are not studying well in school. The academic performance that don't do well. The athletes have more problems than regular people related because of their schedule. So their performance is not much. We are affected all the way through, affects all qualities of our life. Whatever it is, your mood, you don't feel good, people call in sick, and it does cost billions of dollars to the GDP by people calling in sick. And of course, when you don't sleep well, you're prone for infection. In the classic example is when you travel, you're not sleeping well, you have flu-like symptoms. Your immune system, the T cells that protect us, doesn't function well when you don't sleep. So It affects all the facets of our body. And I call sleep the superpower. And I want to discover or reclaim this power is what my goal is.
That is 100% accurate because I think people don't even realize just how powerful sleep is. Everyone says, oh, I got to take vitamin C. Well, sure, yeah, vitamin C is helpful, but you should get some good sleep too, because if your body is not strong enough to fight off whatever's coming your way, then, you're going to have a lot more problems than your multivitamin. We do have to get ourselves into the mindset that sleep is something that's essential. We can't sacrifice it. I understand sometimes there's going to be days when you might have to push an extra hour, but we can't make it a habit, right? We have to rewind that habit, get back to our natural sleep patterns. I like taking a nap in the day if I can. That's the wonders of being an entrepreneur because I can make my own hours. So I have a regular 9 to 5. And I do believe the inception of the 9 to 5 or a lot of those issues because people just can't take a nap at work. This is not kindergarten. This is not first grade where they can just lay down and say, okay, I'm going to go take a nap. I know there's places like Google, like they have sleep pods and stuff like that, but those are people who literally work all the time there. And so they just will code, do their work, go take a nap for an hour, and then they go back to work. So that's a different type of lifestyle. But the regular lifestyle that most people are living in are the typical 9 to 5, the nuclear family. They have a spouse. They go to, their typical job. They come home. There's a lot of consistency there, but there's a lot of inconsistency in our sleep. What are the first steps that you use to help new clients to get back to better habits?
Great question. You touched on in naps. I'm a huge proponent of nap. There was a recent study in the British Medical Journal says that your brain volume is increased if you nap. If you look at it, every country has certain principles like siesta, tea time. In Britain, everybody breaks up. See, that's because our natural lull process. Our body is tired at 2 points in the 24 hours, and it is more bright at 2 points. We are really tired between 2 and 4 a.m. and 2 and about 3:30 in the afternoon. So that's the natural, it's a circadian rhythm, the two drives that control us is kind of diminished. So I'm a huge fan. I take a nap. My mom taught me sleep habits, and even now, I take a nap. But unfortunately, society does not allow it. We push on. But I encourage naps that you are not operating out of a sleep debt. So naps should be like 15 to 40, 45 minutes maximum. But if you're sleeping longer, that means you're operating from a sleep debt, not your natural circadian rhythm. You see what I'm saying? Naps are very good. To going back to your question, how do I bring back people to sleep well? I tell people the time to sleep is between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. That's the 8-hour window that you have to focus. We spend a third of our life. But if you do that from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. the next day, you're so energized. You can do more by sleeping 7 to 8 hours. You with me? You have that superpower. You are more productive. And rather than compromising your sleep and struggling the next day, like for an example, the children who actually sleep well before the exam do much better than cramming the last minute because you're not consolidating your memory. And of course, staying up late, you're more prone for errors and accidents and all that.
There's a mindset that people might go to bed at 10, right? So that's the regular time people go to sleep. But they wake up at 4. They start their day early. They say, let's win in the morning. They go to the gym 4 to 5. No one bothers them. The kids are not up yet. They can get a lot done. And then they don't fall asleep until typically 10 o'clock that same day. Maybe a little bit earlier, maybe 9 on some days, but they always wake up at the same time because that is their habit. That is their routine. Do you think that is a good routine for people to adapt?
Depends on the quality of sleep. Some people sleep 8 hours and they're still tired. So the question is, if they go to bed at 9 o'clock and they wake up at 4, if they feel good the rest of the day, then I would say stick to the schedule, right? So, but some people sleep 8 hours and they're still tired. That's this warning sign you might have a sleep problem or a sleep disorder. Conditions like restless legs or limb movements or REM behavior disorder or sleep apnea. That's how you feel the next day. There are some people who are short sleepers. Elon Musk is a classic example, and our previous presidents, they don't sleep much, but they have the gift of the genetic lottery. They are short sleepers. They get a beautiful sleep in the 4 or 5 hours or 3 hours they sleep. But most of us, our sleep is several cycles. We need the ratio of all the cycles for us to feel better. So to answer your question, if they feel great, from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. the night, then more power to them. There's no need to change nothing.
And how would a person know that they're one of these individuals that can operate on short sleep? Because I know people might think they can operate on short sleep because they do. For example, they go to bed at 11, they wake up at 4, they go through their day, maybe miserable, but they still say in their mind, I made it.
No, the word you said is miserable. If you're feeling great in with 5 hours sleep, then you are a short sleeper. There's nothing wrong with it. But you're struggling, you're drinking caffeine, you're in a bad mood, you're mean to your colleagues, your family, you're struggling, then you have a problem. You're not a short sleeper, you're operating on sleep debt.
Okay, so for the individuals who are using caffeine, maybe the people who are irritable, the people who feel super tired in the middle of the day, these individuals need more sleep, correct?
Correct. Or they have their sleep is affected by a sleep disorder like sleep apnea or limb movement disorder where people move in their sleep and wakes them up.
Okay, so let's start to look at those disorders.
Yes.
Those disorders are genetic or they developed from bad habits?
Sleep apnea, it's got a genetic component to it. It's a hereditary, but the prolific weight gain, that we see, the obesity epidemic has driven sleep apnea to the next level. So what happens when you gain weight? Your throat's narrowed. The fat is deposited all over our body, and the back of the throat is narrowed, and now air is not flowing well, and the brain senses that. So the word before sleep apnea, it's called obstructive sleep apnea. Literally, there's an obstruction, so the air is not flowing well and wakes you up. The obesity epidemic has created a diagnosis of sleep apnea. So people are not resting because the our body's aim is to keep you awake. You literally wake up. You're not physically woken up, but your brain EEG says you're wakened. Then you wake up and take a breath, and the cycle repeats several times during the night.
In what age do you see that many people are starting to struggle with this and they're coming to you for help?
So most of them are middle age, but 30 feet starts around 30s and 40 for men. Then what happens when the testosterone level drops, and especially also in women when they're perimenopausal in their 40s and early 50s, see the testosterone and estrogen keeps everything in good stead. What happens when the enzyme, the hormone levels drop, everything sags, starting from low libido tonicity, everything sags, and so the tongue goes back and collapses the back of the throat. More common around in the 30s for men and closer to 50 in women is the higher incidence of sleep apnea.
And we do have to really pay attention to the obesity factor, right? Because we live in a culture, especially here in the West, where fast food is so prevalent. People are not eating the correct foods for themselves. They're gaining weight. They have low movement in their day. For example, they work a 9 to 5. They don't go to the gym. They don't do any walking. They sit at a desk. They are very sedate during their day, but their body, their maintenance calories might be 1,500, but they feel like eating 2,600 calories that day. Eventually, it starts to tack on, right? In the same way as you said, typically, if you have a sleep issue or disorder, it's not something that happened overnight. And the same thing is like with your weight. You're going to get fat from eating a cheeseburger every single day. And there's a statistic that I just learned recently. 42% of women over the age of 40 are obese, and 38% of men over the age of 40 are obese. It could be at that point when a woman's cycle is changing. So like right there. And then also the food exasperates all of that. It can be the perfect storm for many people to fall into issues later on in life. Do you think a fitness regimen, a sleep regimen, just having a regimented lifestyle in general is going to help people avoid a lot of the issues later on in life?
Great topic on sleep. Poor sleep worsens your obesity. So just by the fact if you are awake more time, guess what? You're going to eat more. You're snacking. And guess what food you're going to eat? The high calorie chips and the candy or the sugary drink. So for example, night workers, there's a tremendous incidence of increased obesity in shift workers because they actually in totality they sleep less. So just by the fact they're awake, everybody's awake more, you're going to gain weight. Number two, the poor sleep alters the endocrine system. There's two hormones that control diet. It's called leptin and ghrelin. Leptin lowers your appetite, ghrelin increases the appetite. In people who are poor sleepers, there is less of leptin and more of ghrelin. So naturally, you're tending to be more hungry. And in perimenopausal women, they gain about 7 pounds average. The menopause is hard on them. So you touched on all those things, but the underlying factor here is poor sleep causes obesity. And of course, when you gain more weight, you have tend to have more sleep apnea. And when you have sleep apnea, you're more tired, you gain more weight. So it's a vicious cycle. You have to have good sleep to have more energy to work out. The foundation for all functions is sleep. When you have that, you will be more, you have that energy to work out. Poor sleep is one of the leading causes of obesity. And also we'll touch a little bit here, also a leading cause of, mental health, anxiety, and depressive disorders are also worsened by poor sleep.
Okay. All this is good because I know many people, they are just thinking like, I might be a person that's struggling with my sleep, right? Because maybe they have a new kid. Maybe they're very stressed because of work. There's just so many factors to why people are not getting good sleep technology, as we talked about. But let's say I'm a client right now
Yes.
and I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to say, hey, I think I'm having some issues with my sleep. What are some of the things you're going to ask me or inquire about? The audience can be well aware when they reach out to you to say, hey, I think I have an issue also, so they know what to expect.
Correct. The sleep affects top to bottom. It affects all parts of your body. When I see a person who has got sleep problem, first I have to ask and find out from the history, is it primarily a sleep problem, or is it your sleep problem is due to something else? Like if you have a breathing problem like COPD or asthma, you're not breathing well, it's going to affect. Or if you have chronic pain, multiple points, back pain, neck pain, then if you have a heart problem, again, you're short of breath. So those are the first question I ask themselves. So because my background in pulmonary and ICU and being a general doctor helps me to figure that out. We have to, why are not people sleeping? Do you have any of this medical disorder? So that's, we call it secondary insomnia. So once I figure that out, I have to answer those. And then next question I ask people is, do you snore? Because once you have sleep apnea, you're going to, so now we decide all the medical factors. Then I look into the sleep problems. So sleep apnea, because when you have a sleep apnea, your brain wakes you up. That's the number one cause of poor sleep. And if you're moving a lot, it's called limb movements. Some people punch their spouses in their sleep, it's common called REM behavior disorder. So then I look into all that. And then there's another condition which is we don't talk much about. It's called restless leg syndrome. It's one of the easily treatable conditions where when your iron level is low, you tend to rub your legs, you're pacing around. And then when you try to go to bed, you're restless. So that's the tease and tweak around all these problems. Once I know that, then I have to come to, is it just primary insomnia? I just cannot sleep. I either cannot go to sleep or I cannot stay asleep. So that's how I find out. And then we'll talk more into the primary insomnia. Let me know when you're ready for that. So that's how I approach a person.
Well, let's get right into the primary insomnia.
Correct. Primary insomnia is a condition where we have ruled out everything. You just can't turn your mind off. Doc, I just can't turn my mind off. So I've ruled out, I've listened to the lungs, heart, taken all the history. So then you have primary insomnia. And the fact is women have more primary insomnia than, and then men, because of their caretakers, they're rearing children, they have more responsibilities. And also the monthly, the ebbs and flow of the hormones, the premenstrual syndrome. So from a very young age, their sleep quality, and as in adulthood, they're rearing children, it's hard. And then, of course, by menopause, it's all over. So women are two-thirds of my clients with primary insomnia are women. So men, they actually sleep. We are gifted in that aspect. So now we decide in primary insomnia. So then what are the causes? Then I go through the simple things that I have an acronym to sleep better. So here is it's called the Sleep Now. In my book, it's called Nobody's Sleeping, 7 Proven Sleep Strategies. The 7 Proven Sleep Strategies, I have an acronym. My daughter is in law school. She said, Dad, we need an acronym. So I formed the Sleep Now acronym, right? So this is actually a very simple acronym. First is, I talked about a little bit, is the schedule. For S is 10 to 6. So that's why most people, what they do when they go to bed at 10 and they don't fall asleep till midnight, guess what they do? They go to bed at 9. So now they're struggling for 3 hours. Basically, I tell people the first thing you have to do is to sleep closer to the time you went to sleep. So 11:30, and then, but the most important thing is to wake up at 6 a.m. So you have to create that schedule. And then I tell people not to take a nap. Nap is good for healthy people, but in people who are struggling to sleep, what happened? They take a nap. Here, I'm trying to create a sleep debt. You with me? For primary insomniacs, it's called sleep restriction treatments. They should not take a nap. they go to bed from 11:30 to 6. So 6.5 hours is a good time to, and then ask them to maintain a sleep log, which is available on my website. They jot it down, not in the middle of the night, sometime before they go to bed, they have to write it down. So the most important thing is S, sleep schedule. All right. Next is low light, low temperature, low noise. So the L in the acronym. So what happens is the melatonin is it's a secreted hormone only in darkness. So low light, make sure there's curtains and blinds. And then, of course, low temperature. I tell people to experiment between 65 to 70 degrees. The melatonin is only secreted in low temperature, and make sure the noise is less. So the SL. The next is E. We talked about it. Electronics, 1 hour to 30 minutes prior going to sleep. So the light from the cell phone, especially in the bedroom when there's no ambient light, is more powerful than outside. It's going to your eye and telling the brain, hey, it's still daytime, no need to go to sleep. So I'm a big fan of those two things that I told people not to do, to keep the holiday about 30 minutes a break and before going to bed, and also moving your cell phone away from, I set an alarm. I keep my cell phone in my bathroom, so I literally have to wake up to the desired time. I'm done sleeping, because if you have it close to me, I'm going to hit the snooze button, or I'm awakened by a text message. All right. So the next is exercise. I'm a big fan of exercise. I exercise in the morning. The exercise releases endorphins and cortisol. Those are stimulatory hormones. You don't want to get closer to bedtime. So I tell people to do that at least 4 hours prior to going to sleep. Exercise in the morning. And there's a little caveat here. Caffeine, I make sure that in my sleep log, there are certain things. When do you take caffeine? Caffeine acts for about 4 to 6 hours, but in people who are vulnerable, it can act up to 12 hours. So no caffeine in primary insomniac past 1 p.m. All right. And same thing with alcohol. I try to tell people to limit alcohol by 6 or 7 p.m. because alcohol metabolizes into acetaldehyde, which wakes you up. And also alcohol is a diuretic that makes you wake up. So I literally have several people who jot everything, their habits, when they take the caffeine, when they take the alcohol, when they have their last meal. So these are little tidbits. I'm moving away from my acronym. So what happens when you have a large meal? It makes more heat. So I tell people not to have a large meal at least by 3 hours prior to going to sleep, because the high energy, it also raises the body temperature and you can sleep better. So that's why I tell people to. And also high glycemic index food 4 hours prior to sleep, like the sweets and high glycemic, like the potato chips, all those affect quality of sleep too. So that's some of the little tidbits people are noting down. So we are down SLEE. P is power off your mind, but you have to power off your body by calming your body and your use of electronics. That's how I tell people to power off your mind. Is I give two techniques. One's called vivid imagination. So when you lay in bed, we take our problems to the bed. I tell people not to worry on reality. I tell people to create your own imagination. A vivid imagination is used for other. I've developed to use it to sleep, help people sleep. So you watch a show, I want to think about it, and you are the director for now, not the reality of your problems. You do that. And the other thing is yoga, nidra. Nidra means nothingness. So when you lay in bed, you keep your hands up like a corpse, folded up, and start. You're nothing. You just don't think about anything. Those are the two things. But you have to do the other things prior to you getting here. So that's powering off your mind. And then the next is no, NO in the Sleep Now acronym, is no to worries. Like I said, bed is for sex, sex and sleeping, but most people are either snoring or worrying, right? So I tell people to worry between, we're all creatures, you're human being. I had my own worries when I started my business, when I'm writing this book, my mom passed away. So, but I worry between 6 and, 8 p.m. I do everything. I write it down, the things I can do. I had to be on, Michael's show tomorrow. So I finished everything last night. I sent you the email, whatever I need to, and then I'm done. I write it down. I'm not telling people not to worry in bed, worry between 6 and dedicated time. And the last one is W in the Sleep Now acronym is win by losing. Sleep is one thing. You can't just win, work out, do this. You have to take it easy. You have to lose yourself, do all those things. This is one thing. We want everything to be on off, but sleep is one beautiful phenomenon. It's like a dimmer switch. It's not an on off. You have to prepare. It's like a 7-course meal. You have to have your salad, your wine, and you can't just go to the main meal. You just have to have a process. But once you do that, though, you will change your life. And that's the joy I feel every day. I've been through it. I've had multiple times I couldn't sleep. And I developed these strategies for the last 20, 25 years, and I'm giving it to all the clients and my patients. They have great success. And I'm like, wow, I need to take it to the world. There's no magic pill. It's easy if there's a pill, but there's not. But it's like taking the stairs you take sometimes. So that's the Sleep Now acronym for everyone.
No, that is all gold. Everything you just said, I loved every bit of it because people, they are struggling with their sleep. People, they also like the quick fixes. So, for example, sleep aids, the Z-Quil, the melatonin gummies, the body does all of this naturally. We just have to help the body get back to where it needs to be. And many people don't want to take that responsibility. It's easy to say, okay, well, I'm going to take a sleep aid. I'm going to go to sleep, right? But that's not helping, right? That's just the band-aid. Typically, what we do here in coaching and session here in Reven Concepts is we don't like the band-aid approach. The way I like to say it is if you get shot, you don't put a band-aid over the gunshot wound. You go to a surgeon, you go to the hospital, right? We need you to get better. All right. We're not covering things up. We're not pretending. Pretending time is over. This is so important, all the stuff we talked about today. I mean, our world today, like just imagine if, let's say, 5% or more people were more effective because they got the sufficient amount of sleep. Just imagine what would happen. Inventions, community building, I mean, structure of government, everything is going to change with just 5%. I know if you're listening to this, you might not think like, well, me sleeping any better is going to fix anything, but it has a ripple effect where if you're sleeping better, maybe you're a parent, right? Your kids are going to also benefit from you being there to run with them, to play with them, to listen to them, versus if you're checked out already. I can't tell you how many times when I was in college, because in college I had the issues of sleeping because sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just like, work, college is a lot. It's very stressful. But today I don't have that. If I go to sleep, I'm out.
That's it. You discovered the power of sleep. Yes.
It is so powerful. And I remember when I was a kid, I always said naps are for babies, but I don't care if I'm a baby right now because if I have time to take a 30 or 45-minute nap, I will.
I encourage napping. Yes.
And it's just to get me going because I find that I'm most powerful when I first wake up, right? My brain is just, let's hit the ground running. And even after I take a nap, it's like my morning resets. So I get another 2 to 4 hours of just amazing work. If I have to write something, if I have to meet clients, it's just I'm on my A game. So getting more people on their A game is exactly what we need to be doing. It is the work that you're doing. Before we wrap up, I would love to get some final words and then for you to tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, mentioned, once you sleep better, we also heal better and you become more forgiving, more thoughtful. And, all this, some of those things that, I wanted to write came out from my deepest sleep when I went ahead. And just like you in the right in the morning, you're so powerful. That's the best thing. People come to me with years of suffering. So this will take about 4 to 6 weeks to get better, to have the process first to identify what the problems are, work on it, and change your schedule. It's not easy. It's like taking the stairs. But 6 weeks in a span of your 10 years you've been suffering is nothing. So once you'll sleep as your power. You don't need to be like, worrying about it. You can conquer it. So that's why I developed my Sleep Now course online. My website to go to is www.sleepfixacademy.com. And I'm Dr. Sleep Fix in most of the social media handles. And my book is Nobody's Sleeping, the 7 Proven Sleep Strategies. That's in pre-order now. I want to give this gift and the knowledge that I have to the world because I've discovered it and it looks like you discovered it. And I want more people, at least 5% to discover this and just put it into principle. It's like you say, the body has it. We just have to let it. The quick fixes won't, body becomes tolerant. It wants more. The higher dosage you're leading, people start taking alcohol and other medicines, you will all go into disaster. But let's find our own power that is long lasting. A few weeks in this long it's a small price to pay. So that's my message.
And it is a small price to pay. Many people are going to think about it. They're going to say, am I really going to pay that price of 6 weeks? I tell people, would you rather struggle for, as you said, 10 years, or would you rather do the work for 6 weeks? It's the same thing in coaching. You can get 3 months of coaching and you're going to be having 9 months of results. You have to get to where you want to be a lot sooner than just kind of waiting for things to happen. You have to be the person that's going to save you. You have to be the person that heals you. You are the person that has hurt yourself. So stop hurting yourself, get back into the right sleeping habit, and get out of sleep debt, because debt does not feel good in any form. And I'm sure if you're struggling with sleep debt, you are probably with me. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Bijoy John, for coming on, spending some time, and talking about your work. All right, everyone, I would like to thank you so much for watching that interview with Dr. Bijoy John and myself. As you can see, he specializes in sleep, though he has done many other things. This is where he has true passion. He wants to help so many people get back to good rest. As I was saying early on, good rest, you might not pay attention to it, right? For example, you go to sleep when you're finally too tired, or maybe you fall asleep with your phone in your hand. Your body just couldn't take it. There are many things that I used to do to get my body on track for a better sleep cycle. For example, there was reminders in my phone. There's apps and things along those lines. There's features in your phone that can turn off the blue light and make it like a nighttime light, so it's less harsh on the eyes. But also, my phone is synced to my business hours. So as soon as my phone, goes on do not disturb, in my mind, I say, okay, now it's time to wind down. The moment I wake up is the moment I start moving. Because even when I was in college and I was struggling with sleep, and I would wake up at 1, 2 in the morning because the TV would be on. I had a TV in my room in college. It wasn't helpful. Today, I don't have any television in my room. The phone might be in my room, but again, it's on do not disturb. It's on silent, not even on vibrate. So when I wake up, I might see the messages. And to be honest, I have gotten so numb when it comes to seeing all the notifications and all the social media notifications. In college, I would see this and start getting stressed out, maybe even some anxiety. I was like, oh my God, I have to do all this. So the first thing I do in the morning is I'm trying to figure out, okay, what happened when I was sleeping? And subconsciously, though I wasn't really paying attention to this, I became addicted. I became addicted to that social media, to wanting to always respond, send messages as soon as I got them, because that is what I felt I needed to do. My phone wasn't on silent. It wasn't on vibrate. It was on ringer max. So a friend would call or text, and as soon as I got it, I responded. And one of the things they might say is oh, I didn't know you were up. I wasn't. I was just making myself available. And what that did was it caused so many problems, because I'm already stressed out because of college, because of work, because of everything else. The last thing I need is not to be well rested. Eventually, I learned the hard way that I need rest, that I need sleep, because if not, I'm going to just start to, crash during the day. And when you crash during the day, you are just so unproductive. If I feel hungry or if I feel tired, the amount of work and the amount of productivity that I get done in my day is almost nil compared to what I do when I'm fully awake, when I have all the ducks in a row, my food, my sleep, my gym regimen, everything is going good. And I understand sometimes a wrench can be thrown in the mix and sometimes you have to deal with it. But most of your days are going to be static, right? So that means you're going to just have your typical day. You wake up, you go to work, think of your Monday through Friday routine. Most likely, if you look back in the past year or the past couple of months even, you can probably see that your routine has not changed quite often during the week. Yes, you're going to have some outliers, but those outliers are not enough to really cause you too much harm. It's the habitual habits that you're giving yourself. Eating poor quality foods, eating at the wrong time, using your phone right late at night. There are so many things that you need to be aware of. And a lot of times people don't realize that they're a problem until it is a problem. So if you have been one of those people who have caused yourself to fall out of a healthy sleep pattern, I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Bijoy John and just begin a conversation. Just have a conversation. Just reach out. Just talk about what's going on with your sleep pattern, what's going on in your life. And he's going to be the best candidate to help you on that path to recovery. Because you're going to find that when you get a good night's sleep, you can fight the whole world. As he said, it's a superpower. In order for you to find that superpower, you have to want it. You have to want to do the work to get it. It's not something that you're just going to fall into. It's not something that you're going to stumble upon. It's something that you have to be deliberate in. And it's the same thing with debt. If you have debt, you have to be deliberate in getting rid of it. You can't just keep getting this credit card and doing all of these things that are causing more issues. It's causing you to have more debt. And you can't keep doing all the things that are causing you to fall deeper into insomnia, sleep deprivation. We can go down the list of all the sleeping disorders, but you should not have any issues. You shouldn't have any disorders. You should have the best life possible. So we can begin with sleep. We can end with mindset. I encourage everyone again, all the links are going to be in the description box below. So let today be the day that you get back to the best sleep of your life. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.